Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. BETSY BARBIEUX is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Well, happy November 2024. Here we are with CAM Matters. I'm Suzanne with BETSY BARBIEUX, ready to tackle another interesting and educational topic. And this one, we could go hours on this.
You say that every time.
I know, but I really mean it this time. This one's, I'm serious. BETSY, I'm so glad to have you. It's so good for you to be here. We're going to be talking about
the dangers of presumption.
Yes. And how relevant in an election year that we would be applying this to CAM associations and our personal lives too, right?
Yeah.
Let's start.
Absolutely. And before I start, though, I have to say Happy Veterans Day. Yes. Today's Veterans Day.
That's right. Yeah.
And my son is not a veteran, but he is still serving.
Well, we thank Adam for that so much.
I want to give a shout out to him and his beautiful wife, Chastity.
Wonderful.
He is a command sergeant major at Parris Island, getting ready to go over to another assignment at the Marine Corps Air Station. So, him.
Well, Mama, lots of kudos to Adam, but there's also kudos to you for some really good raising.
Well,
so, thank you.
I never thought he would get out of the 4th grade.
We worry.
He did turn out to be a productive member of society.
Right. Never a doubt. Mm-hmm. BETSY, let's talk about presumption. What inspired this topic today? What's behind this?
I have had a story that I have just loved. It's written by Max Lucado. It's book Eye of the Storm, and it's about a horse.
Okay.
Since I really like horses, the story caught my eye. Mm-hmm. And it seemed also to be relevant, not only to the political stuff that's been going on, but also just to the stuff that happens in community associations as people talk with each other.
Yeah. And
it has to do with presumption. And if you'll indulge me for just 2 minutes, I'll give you a real brief synopsis of the story.
Okay.
It's about the woodcutter. And the woodcutter is an old, poor man. He lives with his son in a little poor country somewhere. And all of the townspeople admire his horse, and the king admires his horse. The king wants to buy his horse, and the townspeople say, you should sell your horse. You should sell your horse. Then you'll be rich. And the old woodcutter says, the horse is family. I'm not going to sell the horse. And then one day, the horse is gone. All of the townspeople come and they mourn with him and they say, we told you so. We told you you should have sold that horse and you would have been rich. Now you're going to be poor. And the woodcutter gets frustrated with him and says, whether I'm going to be rich or poor, I don't know. All I know is the horse is not in the barn. And as time goes on, the horse comes back. He brings a bunch of mares with him. So eventually they have a lot of babies, a lot of foals, and they start to grow. And so the son starts to break the horses so that they can sell them.
Sorry about the cat.
We're talking about horses, not cats.
It's not your turn. We'll let you know when it's time for you to enter.
All the townspeople come out. As the son is breaking the horses, he falls off and breaks those legs.
Oh, my gosh.
The townspeople come out and said, we told you so. We told you should have sold that horse a long time ago. Now your son's broken his legs and you're going to be poor all the rest of your life. And the old woodcutter just gets very frustrated and says, you people are impossible to talk to. All I know is my son fell off the horse and broke his legs.
Right.
If I'm going to be rich or poor, I don't know. Then I think the final little scene in the story said that the little kingdom ended up in a big war with a bigger kingdom, and all of the sons of the townspeople were drafted to go to the army, but the woodcutter's son could not go because he had broken legs. So all the townspeople were coming out. Oh my gosh, your son didn't get drafted. Ours are going to go and die, and you're at least still going to have your son. And he just is absolutely beyond frustrated with them. You people are impossible to talk with.
Wow.
Whether your sons are going to die or whether mine are just going to live, I don't know. All I know is my son's here and your son is gone.
Wow.
And somehow that resonated with me with this election season.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, it also is very true of just people in general, groups of people. And we presume things about people, and what we're presuming is their motives.
Right.
And we're presuming the future. And when you presume the motives of somebody and you presume the future and come to a conclusion of your own without conversation, without research, without debate, when you come to those conclusions by yourself, you're likely wrong. And some of the things that I wrote about in the article for you to check yourself on, see if I pull it up here. Some of the things that I mentioned.
I'm feeling very convicted right now. I just want you to know my mind is going like, oh yeah. Yeah.
I said decisions need to be made based on facts. Facts come from conversations that involve active listening, not the kind of conversations where you're defensive and talk over the other person.
That never happens at board meetings, though. So that's
no. And then you throw in a bunch of homeowners and it gets even worse. A good habit to develop is to listen to people's words and take them at face value. If they say yes or no, don't try to read between the lines and determine if they really meant yes or no.
Right.
If the person you're talking to can't be honest with his or her answers and reasons, then you should not be forced to become a mind reader and guess what they really meant.
Right.
Creates an insane relationship, whether at work or at home. And this, you can see this kind of conversation between husbands and wives, parents and children, board members, politicians. Some of the kinds of generalizations that we use in our conversation that indicate that we're presuming or that we're exaggerating. If you just listen to yourself during the day, see how many times you say, you always, you never, they are all, you should have known what I meant.
Ooh.
That one makes me mad.
Yeah, right. You and I both, the hair went up on our back with that one. Yeah.
That one makes me mad. You only say that because.
Yeah.
And that's like the little kid that the mom is trying to praise him because she wants him to do better next time. And so she's kind of giving a little bit of false praise there. Yeah. And probably Adam said this to me. You only say that to me because you want me to do better next time. And,
wow.
But he probably did presume the right motive there.
Yeah. Once in a while we get them right.
Yeah.
But Betsy, the interesting thing about presuming is that we're all running it through our own personal filters and experiences and relationships. And again, I love getting into the psychology with you because you have the whole, brain quartered off and everything. But when we're taking our own personal experiences and trying to figure out other people's motives, that's so dangerous and it's tiring. Can I just tell you? I know from experience, it's tiring trying to assume and guess.
And I'm not Sigmund Freud by any chance, and I'm not a psychologist, and not an attorney, but we study human behavior a lot.
Yeah,
and it's if you just listen to people in marital counseling.
Yeah.
There, these you always, you never,
right.
You just say that because, those are the kinds of things that are said, not only in private counseling, but I hear it in the boards all the time.
Yeah.
Or you hear that presumption behind what they say.
Yeah.
I think if we ever develop the habit of active listening,
Yeah.
which is trying to understand where the other person's coming from, but so many times we don't listen because we can't wait to say what we want to say.
Right. We're not even listening to the other person. We already know what we're going to say. That's not a conversation.
No, no.
I'll tell you what, this seems like a good time. Let's take a quick break and come back on the other side and talk about the positive ways that we can kind of internalize a little bit and say, oh, I identify with that and I can do better. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Welcome back to this episode of Cam Matters. I'm Suzanne with Betsy, and we're talking about presumptions and presuming. And Betsy, the bad thing that I'm hearing you talk about is the fact that when we presume, it's really rarely ever a positive assumption. We're always kind of assuming that it's got a negative connotation or a negative spin to it. And so that alone is just dangerous in itself.
It is. And that's exactly what I wrote in the article, that when we presume outcomes or we presume motives of other people, most of the time they're negative.
Yeah.
And once you've made that established negative thought or motive presumption in your head, then how are you going to have an honest conversation with that person?
Right. You walk into a board meeting angry, already having played out the whole scenario, right? And you can be completely off base.
That's what I wrote in the article too, was think about the conflict among your board members. Board members presume, generalize, and exaggerate and create vicious cycles of misunderstandings and mistrust, making it difficult to resolve disagreements peacefully. Votes are split, with losing board members sabotaging the decision, by stirring up dissension in the community. Board members are recalled or they quit, and eventually the community won't have anybody who wants to run for the board.
Right.
It leaves people saying things like, it's difficult to talk to you when you've already come to a conclusion.
Wow.
And jumping to the conclusion about others' motives can leave you in a difficult position for moving ahead. And what I'm hearing a lot of, because of the collapse of the Champlain Towers and the Hammock Dunes lawsuit and all of the new laws and the structural integrity reserve study deadline, the milestone inspection deadline that are coming up at the end of December, people are doing a whole lot of what ifs. And what ifs is presumption.
Okay.
What ifs is presumption. What if I can't afford to live here anymore? What if I won't be able to sell my house?
Right.
Investors buy everything. Each of these creates worry and fear. And when you make decisions out of worry and fear, or if you make decisions out of suspicion and disdain,
right,
they're going to be wrong.
Right.
They're going to be wrong.
Betsy, what would your advice be? What would you say to, I mean, again, we've talked about how we can apply this in our personal lives, political lives, but specifically for community living. What would you say to people to change the thought of going in with presumptions and just starting the whole conversation in a negative way because of your presumptions? What would be practical steps for them?
Well, no, I have practical steps, but I have an example.
Okay.
Last week I had a meeting with one of my boards, and one of the board members who's new, I just sat there and watched and I thought, you are so logical informed, settled, such a team player, but he was very decisive. And he said, we need all the ideas, and he's not the chair. He said, we
Okay.
need all of the ideas out on the table. He said, throw out everything on the table. Here's my draft of what we were working on something, drafting a document. He said, here's my draft of all the pieces. Whether you like it or not, or whether you think it's a good idea or not, throw every idea out on the table and let's look at everything that we can think of to make this work. He said, there's no good ideas. There are no bad ideas. Just put everything out on the table. Don't censor yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't censor each other. Just let's
Wow.
lay it out on the table and see what we come up with, if we can come up with something better than what we've drafted. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
wow.
How refreshing.
Boy,
Right?
can you imagine if you had a board meeting like that all the time?
Yeah.
And you put all the ideas, no censoring, no one up is what I see a lot of is, oh, that's a bad idea. You never be able to do that. You just
Right.
say it because you don't want to spend any money.
Right.
Or you just said that because you don't like my idea. Honestly,
Yeah.
that just doesn't get a board to the best place that it can be. And they're going to have a whole lot of challenges in the next several years with the increase in the reserve funding, which is going to result in increase in monthly assessments, quarterly assessments, however they pay them. There are going to be some really, really hard decisions that have to be made.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that our legislators are having these kind of brainstorming
Level-headed
sessions too,
people,
because we need the legislation changed.
Yeah.
And so they need to be getting things out on the table and not trying to defend their position or defend the vote that they did what they thought was a good idea before. It is perfectly all right. Change your mind on your opinion when you've been given additional information.
Betsy, the word that comes to mind, and this may be really off kilter or whatever, the word that comes to mind in the way that man conducted the meeting was confidence.
He was. And I just sat there amazed at how he just jumped right in and said, every idea is a good idea at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whoa, how many board members say that?
What a great example. I love the fact that you were there to witness it and now you're able to share it. It's like that little seed was planted and now because of your show, you're able to say, look, this was a really positive way to approach it and a lot got done, and people felt heard and respected.
And he drafted up he redrafted the document with their suggestions and has sent it around again for everybody to look at. And I think we've got a finished document. I think we got it finished.
So maybe when I'm talking about practical steps, maybe the very first one is before you speak, check what you had said about you always. Have that conversation in your head. What does it sound like? Does it sound like that reasonable, confident person who's open to ideas, or are you narrowly putting people in a corner with your words? I mean, that's such a great contrast and great example.
And I'll end with one more thing here. The gentleman that wrote me the email that complimented the article, I wrote him back and I said, I think of the Max Lucado story so often it helps keep me in the present and not presume the motives of others. As I think about it more, it's pretty arrogant of any of us to presume the thoughts and motives of anyone else. We need to be monitoring and analyzing our own.
Gotta tell you, this has been a hard one for me because a friend of mine years ago, 30 years ago, said, Suzanne, you tend to build castles. And that is
slap.
Here we go. So I'm a work in progress, but you really, I think that not just me, I think really touched a lot of people and in a good way.
And one last thing that I said to the gentleman, and we'll end with this. I said, God made us self-aware. So we think about what we're thinking about and change that thinking if necessary.
Yeah.
seems a lot of people have lost that discipline, and I'm still trying to learn it.
Yeah, that's so good. The final results are what matters. What attitude and what conversation is going to get you to the results that you want. That's good. Betsy, another amazing episode. Thank you so much. Listen, we ask that you would share this on the platform that you're consuming it. We'd ask that you would even write a review or like it, interact. Betsy puts a lot of time and effort into each of these episodes to help the community family, the community association family. She loves you, and it's apparent every time we get to talk. So thanks for joining us, Betsy. Yeah, we're going to be doing Christmas next and doing probably a recap of all the shows.
We're red again.
Yeah, there you go. And happy Veterans Day. Thank you again to Adam and all those serving.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.